All right, guys, Ignite session 15. We're 3/4 of the way there. Win the seller. Hey, Evie, how's it going? Woo, feeling good. Thank you guys in advance for being cool with. Oh, we're gonna leave it open for Cindy. Thank you.
Sorry, Cindy. I know if it was gonna be longer.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought too, but we're solid. Thank you. All right, overview. We've gone from real estate expert to lead generation to lead follow-up. We're in the midst of the transaction right now. Going back to the beginning, keep in mind that you want to keep like a vision in your head, a mission statement, or one goal that you can constantly kind of find yourself coming back to and evaluating, right? Are you on pace? Are you hitting that goal? A lot of our goals and value are going to be built on lead generation, whether we're generating leads to our database, capturing from open houses, social media, and then there's a variety of different ways to grow that. That if you keep a core 3, or I like to use 4 pillars of lead generation, the same way a table's held up by 4 legs, build your lead generation and database on 4 types of streams of lead generation. Most importantly, wrap that up with follow-up. Everything we do is about relationship building, long-term and short-term. Even if you're just strictly about transaction and numbers, you know, that is still lead follow-up. Even if the person you're following up with is strictly about numbers and not necessarily about the relationship, that is still a relationship that you're building through lead follow-up. And then the transaction yourself. The 4th big items that we cover is working with buyers and sellers, negotiating offers. And you'll notice that some of what we talked about, we're going to go back and forth a little bit on how there's nuance to it, neuro-linguistic programming, whether or not you're in bold, but that's something we're going to be hitting a little heavier on the transaction side as well. Okay. Quote or not quote of the day. Today's agenda: working with A sellers this time around, getting the appointment, the pre-listing packet, listing appointment, listing agreement, recaps, and ahas. Quote of the day: while leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level and with the lowest cost and highest net. Straight from the MREA with Gary Keller. Any thoughts on this when it comes to focusing on seller listings, seller leads, as opposed to anything else as a one thing?
Well, yeah, because if you get one home, you can prospect around it and get more, you get people in, and you get buyers. It's just like mushrooms.
Absolutely. There's an excuse to call the neighborhood. There's an excuse to meet people at their door. Even if you didn't have the listing and you were leveraging someone else's listing, thumbs up, because there's still an anchor, a reason to have that conversation with them that you couldn't have before randomly, right?
More comfortably anyway, you don't want to just walk up and sell your house.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, and there's a relation there.
Yeah.
Like when I would go door knocking, not that I've done it recently, man, but when I would go, I would reference, hey, your neighbor Colleen is selling her home over on 1234 Stonehurst Avenue. And we were curious to know if you wanted to come by the open house, or if you knew of any other neighbors who might be thinking of selling it this time. Right? Yeah, and I always, and if you go from an NLP and neuro-linguistic programming standpoint, hi, my name is, I'm a realtor for your neighbor at, you know, and by mentioning your neighbor's name, A, you identified yourself, you're non-threatening, you're not the police or whatever, you know, B, you identified some sort of relation, your neighbor. So, oh, my neighbor, which neighbor? Colleen, oh, I don't know Colleen. Oh, that house, with Karen sitting in the front porch drinking beer all the time, right? You know, whatever their frame of reference is, you broke that connection point. And if they say something as funny as that, like, yeah, Karen too. But you know, now you have a relationship, and now you have a chance for them to hear your pitch. And I hate to use the word pitch, because we're not like salespeople, but it is pitch. Like the reason I'm coming by is that they're looking at selling their house. And I was curious to know if you would like to come out to the open house. We're hosting it this weekend from this time to this time, both days. And to find out if you knew of anyone else in the area who might be thinking of selling. And here's why. We've gotten already all this attention, blah, 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 blah. Or if you're waiting for answer, wait for answer, and then you can feed it back and continue with the dialogue. But to your point, Evie, absolutely. The reason why it's so vital, 1 can become 2, or 1 can become 4.
Yeah.
Right? Or at a minimum, you have 1 for 1, assuming the seller's all in on selling and all that fun stuff, but there's more opportunities versus just the buyer side of it. Any other feedback on that?
Just also on the door knocking, I remember when I was the homeowner and someone would come to my home wanting to ask if I was interested in selling my house, I would just feel like, this is my home, I'm not selling this, especially on LeMay, our first house. I was like, no, go away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be rude, but that's.
Right, someone's inviting to an open house, and if they reference the
That's
neighbors
a whole
to a
different
degree.
story, yeah.
Yeah, now I get it, if you have a client who off the bat, you're telling this to, and they're like, whoa, don't mention my name to the neighbors,
Mhm.
now obviously don't do that. But you can always reference, hey, your neighbor at 1234 Main Street is putting their home on the market, as you may know already, you've probably seen the sign, we're hosting an open house on this date. A really fun one, especially on a street like that, when you go by, because there's not a whole lot of parking on the street. You know, a good one would be like, hey, just wanted to share a heads up with you. So you introduce yourself, your neighbor we're hosting an open house for them. Just if anything, like we're expecting a lot of people coming to the neighborhood, if anyone you feel is blocking your driveway,
That's cool.
here's the flyer for the open house, here's my number, just call or text me and I'll make sure we have someone out there to move their car right away.
Oh, we'll definitely do that, yeah.
Yeah, and especially on Stoners, that street sucks.
Yeah.
We're-
Where, is that by that little elementary school?
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, I see you park down there, but like directly on the neighborhood, there's not a whole lot of parking.
We parked off to the side.
Yeah,
Is
I
it by
mean,
your friend's house?
oh, cool, small
I
world.
kind of grew up in that neighborhood myself, like preteen. I had a friend who had horse property.
Oh, yeah, and for those online and here, most times that we're selling, I mean, there's not a whole lot of parking. I mean, I've gone through south of the boulevard especially, no parking. So if you're out door knocking and biting the different things, or especially condo complexes, you know, just, hey, if you feel like someone's blocking the way, just call me and we'll make sure to get them out of the way.
Definitely using that.
Yeah, and then you can kind of build and leverage off of that. But overall, the idea, if you guys look at the triangle offense on the MREA, it's leads is the bottom part, listings is on the left side of the triangle, leverage is on the other.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, and I wish I'd started off with that in mind when I accidentally fell into it, but the idea of when you're prospecting, always say, hey, in this market especially, regardless of the market, do you know of anyone who's thinking of selling their home and maximizing the market? I know it's easier to ask for buyers because it's easy to like have that conversation. Sellers, you would think that maybe they might not know anybody, but it makes people think,
Mhm.
right? Because everyone wants to buy real estate. Even those who don't have the funds or resources right now, it's still a goal.
Yeah.
So, right, you know, I'm speaking for myself, you know, like, oh, I want to buy another house, right? But if we ask for the seller, their brain goes to who's selling that I can recommend to Brenda, right? And even worst case, if they can't think of a seller, they'll think, well, I mean, I know people want to buy. I mean, can you work with someone who wants to buy a house right now? Because I know the market's tight. Yeah, we can give it a go. Like who should I be talking to, or who should I be texting to get more information about that? Oh yeah, talk to my brother Ford. You know, here's his number, or hey, let me talk to him, and now you have a reason to follow up with them in 2 days to see if they connected with whoever that they wanted to refer your way if they didn't give you the information right away. Quick shout out to Christopher Martinez, because he shared with me this morning, it's cool to share. He messaged everyone in his social media, his followers, similar to Jessica, and got a buyer, got some leasing leads out of it. And then you just figure out the compound effect of that, right? You extrapolate that out, the follow-up text in a couple days or a couple weeks. Eventually they break the third wall and it's like a phone call conversation and meeting in person. Yeah, I mean, man, just to the point of just taking action, right? And then you can adjust the message as you go. But if you are gonna take the action, you can adjust the message, make the message about, hey, oh yeah, Christopher, you got it, yeah. And you know, make that the point of like, hey, you happen to know of anyone who's thinking of selling and maximizing the market, right?
That's cool.
Message him directly.
Oh yeah, he messaged them directly,
Oh, okay.
and I think he said something along the lines of keeping it short. You know, or Christopher, if you want to chime in and share what you shared, that'd be great.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, no, just keep it short and sweet. I made a mistake where it was like a long paragraph and no one's really gonna read it. So
I'm with you.
yeah. Let's see. All I said was, I would say their name. Hello, Philip. Hope all is well. Just wanted to check in, see if you had any real estate needs or questions about the market or home values. That's all I said. And then a few were like, "Oh, I'm not looking right now, but thank you." And then I would follow up with, "No worries, I understand. Would you happen to know anyone else looking to buy or sell a home?" And then they would say, "Oh," most of them would say, "Oh, no, not really." But one said to me, "Oh, maybe my neighbor, because she was considering selling, so I'm gonna follow up with her." And then I was like, "Okay, just give them my information so they can reach out to me." So that's what you know, keep it as simple as like that.
Dude, that's killer. Yeah, I mean, that's direct to the point. Something we did at Bold, right, guys, where it was like create a soft question that elicits a reply, right? I mean, perfect introduction. Here's the question. Wait for answer. I go back because I have so many people on there that I just have no contact with, or I haven't contacted with. If you're going from absolute ground zero cold, it's, hey, Brittany, this is Philip. How are things going? It's been forever, right? But if there is a relationship where you're constantly going back and forth with posts or whatnot, Christopher just absolutely nailed it, right? Or if you want to just go blanket through emails, we have Josh who sends out emails. A couple of past clients that have been on my chicken list, I had to call them since we closed. They reply like, "Hey, Philip, things are great. How are you?" So something along those lines is always a fun thing. Thank you, Christopher, appreciate that, man. Thank you for sharing that. And Jessica too, you were one of the first ones to DM everyone on Instagram, so good stuff there. Qualified sellers are able, ready, and willing to do business in the next 14 days. So that's your A list, right? You're always working with an A list, a B list, and a C list, but your A list would be those ready in 2 weeks. Now, the cool thing is, if you don't have an A list for the next 2 weeks, it's like, great, who in my pipeline can I move from a C to a B and a B to an A? Or who in my database can I put on my pipeline list, right? Great, I've gone through all that. Great, let me do circle prospecting calls around a listing. Awesome, let me hit my network. Let me do this, let me do that. There's so many different ways to go about filling it in. But from qualifying people, these are the individuals and families ready to do something in terms of signing a listing agreement with you within 14 days. And I hit on this when I did this, but this is the 3 L's of the MREA. Oops, wrong one. List leads. Here at the bottom, the foundation of all that we get to do, with a focus on listings, and then leveraging those listings or leveraging help or strategic partnerships in order to help fulfill the needs of our clients and help us grow our business. For those of us who were on the call on Friday with Emilio hit really hard on the idea of strategic partnerships. His lender, other realtor partners, title, his home inspector, just different people that are tied to the transaction, photographer even, everyone playing a specific role in making that experience happen for the client, right? And the leverage piece, even, you don't have to hire someone to make it a leverageable piece. Like your lending partner could help you with getting more listings, right? Your TC partner, when your escrow is open, will help kind of mediate the 85% of paperwork that you don't necessarily decide. The listings aspect, the lead generation, the focus on listings will always get you the listing essentially, plus a buyer for that listing or a buyer for a different property out there, right? Not just the sign calls, but then leveraging the listing on command and then making ads around that for $30 a pop, right? Or whatever the cost investment that you want to put in. Any questions on the 3 L's of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Or anyone has seen this for the first time, or they have some frame of reference to this?
In the book.
But there you go. Not totally new, but awesome. All right. Virtues of sellers listings. Now, these are 6 reasons why a seller listing, something that we hit on. Seller listings mean marketing opportunities. You have more control of your time. Seller listings maximize your per hour compensation. Volume. With seller listings, you're on the front end of pricing. Properly marketed, the seller listings bring more business, which is always an amazing book. I should have made that too big. There you go. Oh, Matt Rodriguez, first time. There you go. There you go. Jessica, I love seller listings. Yeah, there it is. You know what? It manifests destiny, right? We manifest what we put our focus and attention on.
Yes.
That's for sure. And so, and to Matt's point, you know, I used to draw this on napkins, leads, listings, leverage. And if you're reading through the MREA, the foundation here, I'm putting the mouse over it, is think a million, right? Condition your mind to think and operate as a millionaire real estate agent, producing agent, earning a total GCI net. Above that line would be earning $1 million in GCI. Above that line would be netting $1 million after cost of sale and everything else. And if you're building out a team, the top, very top, or not necessarily the very top, is receiving $1 million, and then ultimately the pinnacle, which is, I don't think is in the book, but it's giving $1 million. It's going from thinking of $1 million all the way to being able to give $1 million. Because imagine that, like, what kind of business are you operating in order to give away $1 million? You know, that's crazy cool. Even if you did 10%, that means you're taking in 10 million a year, right?
I want to give away $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's some food for thought for us, by the way, is just to plant some seeds. So a buddy of mine is starting a nonprofit, and his thing is, you know, not just giving away supplies and resources. Like, everyone gives away meals, everyone gives away like a place to sleep and just different things. He's actually, you know, he's a soccer coach, and he's coaching people who want to get off the streets, like the most basic things, how to show up clean for work, how to do a job interview, how to put together a resume. So he's actually coaching them on like going from here to the next stages in life. And I thought, man, that is pretty awesome. So that to bring this full circle, you know, my wife and I sponsored his insurance one year just so he could have insurance for his business, for his nonprofit. Apparently you still need this stuff, right? You just can't show up and get to work. So we sponsored him. He was so touched by that. He's been referring us to everybody. But B, now that he's like kind of grown the nonprofit, he wants to put us in his book. He wants to put us like on part of his speaking engagements, like a genuine type of like, hey, La Familia really helped us get off the ground. Their message about home ownership and real estate and building wealth through real estate is something everyone should hear. The same way I feel about his mission, even if he didn't even sponsor us, Real Way Foundation is something people, you know, living in these really tough situations should really look into. But just think of those things as other places are growing, and they're growing parallel to you, and you get to grow together. Those are stories that you guys get to take with you for forever. Or strategically partnering with a nonprofit on that end. That would be kind of more of the leads and leverage aspect of that conversation. But again, it's something that calls your heart, right? I think of myself as of being in that situation if I didn't have my mom, right? If I didn't have that lighthouse. I don't want to cry right now, but my mom would definitely be that. If I didn't have her, I'd probably be no different. So yeah, thank God for moms. Woo, thank you, Edie. Thank you, Jessica too, and Heather, and Monique. You have children, right? I understand the best. I want to say yes. 7-step seller service cycle. So very similar to buyers, there's 7 steps as well. Lead conversion. If you notice, this is literally the same amount of work and the same process, right? So I'm going to give it away a little bit. If you're going to do the same amount of work, if not more work as a buyer, but same amount of work for the buyer and the seller, and we're kind of going down this road, where do you think you'll get the most return of investment in time? Seller, absolutely. And the seller could actually lead to the buyer. Now, if you work only buyers, don't get me wrong, we killed it thanks to our first couple of years of working buyers, mainly because they go from buyers to becoming sellers at some point, right? So if you go 10x on buyers in 4 to 5 years or whatever the market, there's a change in their life or a bump in the market, they become sellers and they're still buyers, right? Because we're going to sell that condo. Absolutely. Something I shared with Maddie had asked about, like, hey, how do I get more like buyers? And it dawned on me, like, oh, call condo owners. You know, when you call condo owners, let them know about your listing or ask them, hey, in this type of market, have you ever thought about turning your condominium into a rental and then being able to buy an additional property as a primary home and leveraging smaller down payment?
Can you actually get numbers just for condo?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let's see that.
Remind me and I'll send you a list. Okay, and Woodland Hills, right? So,
Wherever.
but yeah, Woodland Hills. I think that's but if you think about it, like the condos, like along Ventura Boulevard, if Ventura, yeah, like right near the 101,
Mhm.
near Topanga, like those, I mean, they're crazy price. I mean, there's
They're better off being home.
550 to 750,000. The Met is going for some crazy ridiculous number.
Oh, the Mez,
Yeah.
the paths, yeah, there's
Right.
a lot of them.
And you're talking, what, $500 a month for HOA? You know,
Yeah.
It's wild. But you can start there if you wanted to build, you know, not to say focus on buyers, but if you did focus on buyers, just go nuts because they will be sellers. But if you can get sellers up front, they become buyers too. Now you get both and you get the buyers from the sign calls and all that sort of stuff.
Stuff inside there?
Yes and no. If you get someone who says like, hey, this person's not even from here, you know, that can be grounds for expulsion, right? Or
What do you mean, like, if I don't live there?
yeah, I mean, that could be like, not just be breaking and entering, but they might have rules against that. I typically will, in the past, when I had the time to do it, it was like, I would make good with the HOA manager.
Mhm.
You know, if I had a listing in there or I had an in with somebody, I would find out when they do their HOA meetings. This is before COVID, right? So a lot of times they would just meet at someone's house or whatever. And I would be their sponsor. I'd be their lender in a sense, their vendor. I would sponsor coffee and donuts and I'd have a market update. And I did that with one of our listings. I brought a lender with me who talked about getting the complex FHA approved. So, hey, it would just bring more buyer potential to your place. We bombed, we failed, totally cool. We learned a ton of stuff. But if you're gonna be dedicated to a place, I would start with a phone call or a golden letter. Maybe both. Yep, golden letter, hey, then follow it up with a phone call, and then follow it up with, by the way, who's the HOA manager, which you can probably find out by going on MLS if there's recent sales. You can get the HOA management company and ask them, hey, I'm planning on finding out more details about marketing this building, who would be like on-site association president that I should reach out to. So, and that's again, a little bit of prep work, but you'll get so much more juice out of the same actions that you'll be taking. And then in this case, you're not just getting the buyer, you're also getting sellers. Not everyone wants to deal with leasing out a property and dealing with tenants and all that fun stuff. So, you know, that's just one way to work around it. Oh yeah, and Rachel hit it. I think it's against the HOA to go there if you're not. Oh, big question. Hang on. If you aren't a resident, I had a question. So one of my farms is my parents' gated community. I can't door knock, but has been sending mailers.
Okay,
Is there any way that I could go to their meeting? My mom is 78, so she isn't at a point where she needs to care, where she needs care. I don't want to be too pushy. No, Rachel, you hit on the head. I would totally attend on your parents' behalf. And I would imagine they have the trust set up where it's you and your siblings or you yourself are kind of the executors of the estate anyway, right? So totally, you're there not only as support for your mom and helping her understand what's going on in the HOA complex, but you're also essentially a future owner or a future member of that HOA as well. Whether you decide to keep the property or sell it or whatever, you're still a future member. So absolutely, that would be like my farming in a situation like that, would be attending those meetings. So you attend one meeting and you connect with at least two people, so worth it. Right, but in that case, if you're able to connect with the whole group because you were able to stand up and share some perspective or some leadership ideas or whatever, now people kind of know, oh, wow, that was fascinating or that was interesting. Hey, is there a roster? Now you have permission to follow up with everyone. When you do get a list from title or however you get your numbers from, now you're calling about the HOA meeting. Or here's a really cool one, a community of 500 residents, 500 owners, and only 10 people came out. Like, does nobody care, right? So now you have an excuse to call everyone and say, hey, you know, just want a friendly reminder. My mom lives in this community, and however you want to frame that. But I'm calling to invite you to our HOA meeting. We have them every Tuesday, such and such, a month, or every other month, whatever the frequency is. Or you can make a flyer supporting the HOA. And on the back flyer, have a market update.
you send that one.
Maybe door drop that one, or you can mail it as a golden letter. You know, part of it is, hey, my name is we have a meeting here at the HOA every such often. And just as a heads up, I put some great information on the back of this letter regarding a market update with this community, specific to this community. And these are just ideas, right? I mean, you know, dedicate the time that you want to that, but I just wouldn't drop into the community, to Rachel's point, door knock without knowing the lay of the land just to get the police call. But you know, you have a total
Drops off
Rachel.
some food, I can't find the person.
Yeah. So I'm knocking all 700 doors. Oh, that's awesome. Does that help, Rachel?
Yes, thank you. I've just been trying to think of a strategy to go to their meetings because my parents have been there 35 years and most of the residents have been there 20 plus years. So I know a lot of them and I know like their children, but I just don't want to be too pushy. Like I don't want to, you know, if it makes sense.
No, it totally does make sense. I mean, you could literally say you're there on her behalf, you know? I mean, we're doing one for my son and are in with besides living in Canoga Park, you know, he actually does need to visit a neighborhood council or some sort of civil service type event. And neighborhood council is one of them. It would count towards his merit badge. And he does want to learn more about it. So he's going to show up in full uniform and we're going to go to the Canoga Park neighborhood council meeting and he's going to interview the people who volunteer. And it just turns out in June, I believe they're having like our district person come out. I think you know, because of the elections and whatever else.
Oh, yeah.
But the new one or the one that's current will be there. So, you know, always a fun thing to do. And again, it doesn't have to be by the book, right? I mean, the stuff we're talking about isn't exactly written down word for word. Just take these ideas and if there's something that like resonates with you, fan that flame. You know, if you're like, cool, I love working in the community, great, take it and run. You know, hey Philip, I don't give a hoot about door knocking, great, let's focus on something else. But again, the seller service cycle, it goes all the way through listing consultation, servicing and marketing, offers and negotiations, close the contract, post-close system. For those of us who are here for the buyer side, exactly the same thing. We're just literally interchanging buyer with seller. And I just want to make sure we paint that picture that the work to get both is relatively the same, but yet you have an unfair reward in that you can get more juice out of the listing side. Any ahas on this topic?
I would just like to add, in Moore Park, they're condos, townhomes, and they do have big signs, no soliciting, no dropping. They actually have like no dropping. And funny enough, we got to do an open house there and one of my old co-workers from my other office stopped by and she's like, oh my God, you guys are here, you know, yeah. And I was like, do you live here? And she gave us this scoop, like, oh, we have people dropping and knocking all the time. HOA does not even look into that. They have bigger problems. So I'm like, oh, you know, I was kind of scared to, you know, come knock or drop because it's really easy, you know, cut it out in like 2 hours. And she's like, no, we have a lot of people coming, dropping and knocking and, you know.
Yeah, I think to that point, that's kind of like knowing the lay of the land.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, if you've got some inside information about stuff. And I think you started off with the biggest key that you had an open house in the community.
Yeah.
Right, so again, the listing gives you permission almost to market, even if you're not, let's say you did door drop, but you did the 50 cents a door mailer, right? You got Ford Marketing do it, or Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, and you just paid a premium just to make sure it got mailed out. At least it's out there, right? Or you went back and went in a different direction and just paid to just blow up that geo area on Instagram and Facebook through command, right? So I mean, I'm tempted to just drop mailers altogether.
There's a neighborhood that I'd like to do that.
Oh,
A friend of mine, I was talking to her last month and she said that there's a lot of elderly citizens who want to sell. rental homes.
I think a golden letter would be awesome.
Yeah, she gave me the address and she said just go around that whole neighborhood.
Okay, you know, for tomorrow's training, I'll just do that on TLF and,
Okay,
you know, we'll just pull it up, because then
Okay.
Josh needs to train on it too. But if you guys can do it independently, thumbs up.
Yeah.
So from Rachel, I think there's a fine to go door knocking in condos and apartment buildings, $500 for
oh
defense.
no,
Oh yeah, 100% Rachel. And again, going back to like knowing the lay of the land. If it's a very strict HOA and you have no frame of reference in it, likely don't do it. In fact, when I think of door knocking, condos, and even single family residences, you still want to do some research on. I mean, there's like, okay, great, just drop in and do it for the sake of experience, awesome. But after that first twinge of experience, an hour of prep work ahead of time will help kind of soften the earth a little bit. Go in with a plan, and can't stress that enough, be prepared, and go from there. So this is now go kind of work through getting the appointment. You just minimize that. Respond right away to lead inquiries. That's something I'm working on, because as we have things flying through Instagram and Facebook, you do kind of lose track of who's who. Get valid and complete contact information, save it to command and create an opportunity. Determine their motivation to sell so you can speak to it. Set an appointment time and date for as soon as possible, and send pre-listing packet, which we're going to hit on through command. Right here on get valid and complete contact information, if you're doing ads through command, you can set it to where it automatically adds them to an opportunity list, or at least it'll tag them specifically for whatever campaign you've started them on. What sellers want most from agents, and this is kind of a rotunda here: help price home competitively, help sellers market homes to potential buyers, help sell the home within specific time frame, help seller find ways to fix up home to sell it for more money. Of these first 4 items, is there anything that we can't do with a little bit of prep work and network? What I'm saying is that can we within an hour price a home fairly competitively, looking at stats and looking at a CMA, help seller market homes to potential buyers. That's literally what we do. Help sell the home within a specific time frame. They give us a goal and their motivation. Do you think we can sell it within that time frame? If they allow us to price it, it makes sense. And help seller find ways to fix up home and sell it for more. I mean, we could probably just go to our WhatsApp group or our own network, go to your husband, to Antonio, and off we go to Tony. So, again, we bring this up because there's nothing mythical here. None of this here says, hey, you gotta be, an 8-year college veteran or a master's degree, none of that stuff. Not to say that doesn't help, great, awesome. But these first 4 items are pretty universal, right? And others, it might be, hey, if you do it for whatever price, or do you happen to know how to work a reverse sale, reverse purchase? I mean, those are kind of the one-offs, and we have a network to help support that as well. Build confidence and trust. Let me ask you guys, how do you guys would build confidence and trust? Those online and those here in the room together.
For the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Just by listening to them and getting to know their needs and letting them know how you can help them achieve that.
Yeah, I mean, listening to what the needs are, asking appropriate questions. It's funny when you ask questions that they can answer. It's like I don't know, I've never really worked with a therapist, but I can say I've worked with a coach, and the best coaches I've worked with are all about asking questions. Matt, fire away.
Hey, Philip. Yeah, one thing I gave some advice, even though I'm a new agent, because I worked in sales a while back. I told one of the new agents who I'm working with that when I'm speaking to strangers or selling or doing anything like that, I just pretend I've known them for a while and they're just my friend. And I want to do everything I can to help my own friends. So I'm professional, but also try to make them as comfortable as possible. And just changing that mindset as, you've known this person for so long, even though they're a complete stranger. I don't know, it makes it feel a little bit easier to communicate to me.
That's huge, man. And I think of it, if someone's older than me, male or female, think of them as my aunt or my uncle or my mom, right?
Exactly.
So it's almost like, how would I talk to a cousin? How would I talk to a relative? Is selling their home even in their best interest, right? Like we've had it where we didn't take the listing because it was literally backwards for them to sell the house. Like if they sold the house, they'd be in a worse situation, like practically homeless, if they did do something like that, right? That builds confidence pretty quickly. Or when when it truly is not in their best interest, but then they open up to you more, then they realize, like, oh, Brittany really has my back. Let me tell you the other side of the story. And you're able to put the pieces together, like, oh, now it makes sense why you want to sell. But are you sure that you want to liquidate ABC fund or whatever, right? Rachel has one here: talk less, listen, ask questions, and always come from a place of service. 100%, 1000% even. You mix that with seeing them as you're talking to a longtime friend you haven't seen in a while, and you're helping through the process. Now it just becomes more natural. And to Matt's point, if you're coming from that place, now it's a little easier. This is with a complete stranger, right? Now maybe a little easier to talk to like friends and family and other folks in our universe, in our general spheres of influence going through.
Yeah.
Great job, guys. You guys nailed it. And Brenda too. 7 close to appointment tactics, show the benefits. And again, you're gonna think, oh, this is a broken record, but it's the exact same thing all the way through. As a buyer, show benefits, take back close, negative, positive close, give them what they're looking for, trial close, assumptive close, tie down, leverage tie downs. And again, if for those of us who were with us or not with us, Google Tom Hopkins, and that was literally his way. And I believe there's actually a YouTube where it's 5 minutes long and he goes through the different types of closes. And he sounds cheesy. Well, he looks cheesy, but he sounds dead on point,
I
right?
had to turn this on to him on Monday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We started listening to him right away. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good.
Yeah, I mean, his stuff is timeless.
Yeah.
And granted, he did most of his damage in the 70s and 80s, but as a professional sales trainer, this is all he did from the late 80s to the early 2000s, right? And he even talks about, when you read his other books, all the mistakes he made. Like, he didn't manage his money right, he didn't sign prenuptial agreements. That was a funny one. All the stuff that he made mistakes on, he also owns them and talks about how to work around that. Matt, you have another point to bring up? All right, cool. Let's keep your hand up there. All right, questions versus objections. When a question is asked, answer it. When an objection comes up, address it, and they have it here, and ask another question. So like when you answer their question, and answering a question by asking another question. So a real basic one would be, drawing a blank here. So they asked me, what can I sell my house for? Great. Well, we have different prices or different comparisons available. If you could sell your home, what would you like to sell for?
Oh, okay.
So
be like, oh, I think you can get that.
right. I mean, you can have a general answer, like if it's clearly like, hey, we're north of 900.
Okay.
I might say, hey, we're north of 900. However, what would you like to sell your home for? And that lets me know what they're realistic for. They may have answered in the pre-qualifying call.
Under 900?
Or north of 900, so above. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
South is down.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'd love to sell for Sal. I'll buy it. Like we'll figure out how to buy it, right? And be open about that. Like kind of taking a quick step back. If an agent, if you have a buyer, an investor especially, or someone who's like, well, if you can find me a house that's Woodland Hills for $700,000, let me know. And I'll be like, great, I'll buy it first. Take back. That's take back loans, right? And you set the tone of the relationship with those investors that, hey, you're just not another realtor who's looking for a commission. Like you have your investor hat on too.
Is that like selling them, you're not gonna be able to find it without saying you're not gonna be able to find it?
Yeah, you and my mom want to buy something at 700 in Woodland Hills, because everything out here is $1 million, right? And just kind of call that out in the room, and they start talking to you differently.
You and my mom.
Yeah. Let's see here. What are you looking to sell your house for? Yes. Yeah, you nailed it. What are you looking to sell your house for? That's a great question here. And there's some that are pretty obvious, like, someone might ask, or this is a good one, like, hey, we're living a sign in my yard. Just don't say yes. Ask, well, there can be. I mean, would you like a sign in your yard? Well, actually, I don't want a sign in my yard. Because I don't want to draw attention. Can you sell it without putting a sign in my yard? if we were able to do that, would you be able to sign the paperwork tonight? Absolutely, I'll sign the paperwork right now. And great, no sign. Let me just check that box that we're not gonna put a sign in your yard and get the paperwork signed. You know, some of the objections aren't like these mythical monsters. A lot of it just might be privacy. They don't care about the 6% or whatever you're charging on the listing fee. They'll see it, but their biggest concern might be something so small that they're willing to pay in order to make sure all their worries and fears and all the nonsense and the background noise is out, right? I know we have some crazy real estate stories, but most listings are pretty like, hey, am I gonna be able to get out of here before the kids start school? You know, am I gonna be able to hit this number? Why is this number so important to you? Oh, it's because I plan on doing this investment, paying this off, sending this kid to this school, and then grow this pile of money so I can send my next kid to the school. Wow, that's a pretty deep why. Absolutely, we can do that, right? And as long as, and then you have to kind of judge for the pricing and all this stuff for the market will sell fast. All of us have looked like geniuses in the last couple of years listing a home because, you know, growing market. Now also know what an objection is versus a condition. This is a Tom Hopkinsism. And a condition is something you just can't overcome. It could be a health thing, it could be a timing thing, it could be something about money that they just can't do it, right? And that's when you kind of be the one to call the elephant in the room and just say, hey, sounds like based on what's happening in your life right now, it's more of a condition, we're not in a position to sell. Yeah, you know, a doctor says like, I really need to take it easy, and I feel like this move is gonna cause so much stress that I'm gonna be in worse shape. Like we have a seller that way. Beautiful home, not beautiful home, but a great home, great location in Woodland Hills. I know her son through our kids' school, and she's been given 12 months to live, right? Best answer for her is actually put your home in a trust and identify Rory as the person, or your grandsons, whoever you want to identify, you know, talk to the attorney. But this seems like more plausible. But then she's also on the other side of, well, I want to be around for my family to enjoy it. So at least when I die, I can see them having fun with it. I was like, oh, God, that hurts. You know, so again, that's kind of more the emotional side. The numbers are there, the contacts are there. But it's a condition. She's got a health situation. If she were to sell and then go through in her mind, the stress of moving, what's more important to you? Like making sure that you're all together with your family, or being in a safe place where your family can still be around you till that time. And it's a weird conversation to have. It's like a hospice question, right? And hospice is not something she wants to go to, right? She wants to either be with her family or in her home. Yeah, so we're letting time. And sometimes time will be the part of that lead follow-up aspect, you know. Oh, that sounded pretty bad. I'm sorry, guys. But that was a condition. Yeah, or you know, another reason for conditional selling, like a condition that will prevent them from selling it is if you can't overcome, is their needs for a job increase. Like if I sold my home today in Calabasas, can I afford to move to Westlake Village? Go from $1.8 million to $4 million, maybe. What do our numbers say, right? Well, I'm waiting on getting a promotion at Netflix in order to do that. Oh, awesome, John. Well, when are you up for promotion? In 4 months. Crush it. That's all I can tell them, right? Like, no point in putting your home up for market now. I get manifest destiny, but let's not, you know, sell your home and put you in a precarious situation without knowing you got that job lined up, right? That would be another example of condition. Any ahas on that topic?
Just a great way to build that confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. The pre-listing packet, now this is something I saw on Connect, thank you for that, Brenda. So you can actually get all that there. Now, we're gonna hit this real quick, the E to P approach, focus, model, systems, and breakthroughs. The purposeful approach, doing what comes unnaturally. I wonder if there are any ahas on that. Any ahas on that? Doing the purposeful approach is doing what comes unnaturally.
As a salesperson, like you.
or just, okay, so like we get into entrepreneurship, whatever the business, say real estate, because we're all in real estate, right? And the natural thing is, let me gravitate towards where I thrive, like where do I naturally excel? And it might be something as simple as, I'm fearless, I will get on the phone, I'll make calls, I'm okay with failing forward, right? And you get to a certain point, but you hit a ceiling, right? Like that natural energy will only get you so far that you just boop, oh, hit a wall, come back down. Oh, that didn't feel too good, but you know what? I'm gonna get after it again. Bam, take off, get some leads, get some deals going, boop, hit a ceiling, come back down. All right, cool, recharge, make some money. All right, let me go be fearless again. Let me just go out and hit it again. You just keep hitting the ceiling of achievement. Now, the ceiling of achievement can be pretty high. There's some people who have a ceiling of achievement, they make $1 million, right? Others might make 40,000 in a year or a month or whatever, but there's always a ceiling, right? It's either gonna be whatever the amount is, we're always gonna hit a ceiling. My point is that when you go to models is very unnatural. Like, oh, whoa, that's someone else's thing. A database, ooh, keeping up a smart plan. That's a very unnatural approach because we're not raised by our parents to work on databases, work on systems, you know, have work on a schedule. Maybe we grew up with a schedule, but for the most part, models and systems aren't natural things that we come by, right? It's a very unnatural thing to learn. Oh, this is where I plant my feet. This is where I hold the baseball bat. This is how I swing. Right? If you've never played baseball before, I'm probably holding it all wrong anyway. But if you've never played baseball before, there's like models and systems you follow through on at a very young age or whatever you pick it up. Same thing with golf, same thing with driving, right? You know, do I unlock the car, sit down, put on your seatbelt, turn the car on, adjust your mirrors. Now it's just like natural. The unnatural thing is actually following through on these things. And I'll hit this a little bit more. Oh, Rachel, I'm sorry I missed this. Yes, I've been networking a lot, 5 to 6 events. Oh, wow. Just approach to create a young professionals group, industry specific. I'm so excited, dude, killer. Yeah, rock on that. Yeah, that's another one. And you know, you build kind of a model or system around it. Now you can duplicate that. You can go from like 6 to 60. I'm not saying like spread yourself thin, but you can start managing other online groups similar to PAM or whatnot, but it can really take off. But now, once you kind of get those models and systems in place with that same energy of just like fearlessness or whatever that natural ability is, now you're breaking through ceilings, and now that same energy can net you more sales, listings, leads, GCI, net profit, all that fun stuff. Now you're going from just entrepreneurial, just energy, just natural talent and God-given ability to now harnessing that power and breaking through. Now it's gonna seem like you're walking with 2 left feet, whether it's command or whatever modeling system you're following. Believe me though, it's gonna be so well worth it. You know, and every time I remind myself like, oh, I'm prospecting, getting these leads, gotta remind myself, hey, Philip, plug them in with Josh, plug them into command, update your system. Because that's what's gonna make the return that much more better. You know, especially with all the work we're putting in, it's like, oh, there has to be some kind of return on this. Pre-listing packet goals. Again, this is just the most basic stuff. Pre-sell builds the seller confidence, answer their questions and objections before your presentation. Save time, makes the consultation experience smoother and or shorter by tackling common obstacles. State your value, tell the seller what you bring. Now I have the most silliest, most simple package. I write in the body of my email a little bit about myself. And then I have a summary page that just says, hey, this is what we're thinking of listing your home for. This is the commission we're charging. These are the questions you gave me. It's like stupid simple. It's not even robust, right? I started doing that because of the pandemic. And I would even just tell people over the phone or on Zoom, hey, we're gonna be charging 6% or whatever the number. And you know what? Very little blowback. You know, it wasn't, oh, can you do it for 4 or 3 or whatever? The question became, okay, where's the value? Right, and then we started creating value. Like I never really voiced it, but it's like, okay, well, we're doing marketing, we're doing professional photography and staging, we're having concierge service for your home, we're gonna be cleaning out your house, all this stuff, we're gonna make sure that it's turned over in a clean way. And I didn't realize that that was what was normal to us as a value proposition to others. right? So the more and more I became vocal about it, the more I started typing it up and saying, okay, here's a checklist. And that, to that point, is having model systems and breaking through. The natural ability is focus and cool, I'm gonna go get these listings, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to have, you know, client satisfaction and making sure this is smooth for everyone. A model would be like, oh, let me actually formulate that. And then the system would be, let me follow through on this checklist items. Now, it doesn't sound as sexy as, man, I'm gonna stay focused and get after it. But this was what led to one of our breakthroughs early on was, oh, now I have a repeatable way. I don't have to feel like I'm taking 9 hours of energy and plugging it into this one conversation.
Mhm.
I'm just following through on a checklist. And then when Maureen came around as a part-time admin, you know, aside from being our TC, it was like, oh, so I do something like this. Can you make it prettier? They're like, oh yeah, totally. And she like refined it. And that's when the leverageable help kind of brings more substance to it, right? But yeah, the pre-listing packet was kind of a start for us because it was something basic, something concise that we could easily repeat. Pre-listing packet criteria, will you review it in the listing presentation? Does it eliminate the need for a listing consultation? I love that. Is it a primer for education you will provide at the listing consultation? So a lot of times when they get this, you might show up and they might just say, hey, we just want to know that you're not going to put a sign in. I keep going to that because sometimes we get that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, man, if that's the only thing, am I going to say, no, I'm not going to take your listing? I'm like, awesome, you just saved me $40 paying the office or whatever we pay for sign installation, you know, cool. Yeah, so great. But the pre-listing packet may cover that. And many a time, for those online and for the 4 of us here, it was just great. I'll send you the DocuSign paperwork, we can get started right away.
So you don't even bring the contract, you just have to sign.
Yeah, I didn't even show up at the house.
Oh.
Yeah, I may have remembered the house, but I may have seen it before based on what they described to me. A few times, I didn't see the house until we had the photography day, picture day, and I was like, oh wow, this house is great, awesome. You know, like, woo, we can sell it for this much. But I mean, that's not a good thing, right? That's by no means the way to do it. And try and see the house before you officially price it. But that's another thing too, like I'm gonna go back to Sonia Rowland. She's our regional productivity trainer, right? And her thing was when she did for sale by owners, when she hit land here in SoCal, she was just all about for sale by owners. And her first appointment with them wasn't as robust, no pre-listing packet, nothing. It was just, let me see your house. A, I'd love to see if you're on pace with the market, and B, I might have a buyer for it. She would see the house, awesome. She didn't give her feedback right then and there. She would follow up and say, hey, I saw your home, compared to others, you're off price by so much. Would you be open to just reducing your price, or would you be open to letting me sell it for you? Take all this stuff off your hands. Because by then she's connected with them in person, she's seen the house, she kind of got a little bit more of their whys and motivation, and now she's coming back with a solution. Yeah, genius move, right? And it's no different with us. I mean, if we're selling a friend's home or a family member's friend's home, or however the listing came to us, I usually just showed up just to show up. But when COVID was at its peak, you know, people were like a little weird about coming over or not coming over. Great, I would just show up fully masked and just said, hey, we're gonna list it a little lower, so I haven't seen your house yet. And then it turned out like, oh, holy crap, this home is gonna sell, it's a killer good, right? But then there were times where I hadn't seen the home at all. You know, like Colleen, I did see her home way ahead of time, and knew, yeah, it would sell. But the market has affected her. She could have sold for $1 million at the early part of the year, but not, you know, she'll still sell for 900 plus. But you know, earlier in the year, you would think $1 million for the home with the interest rates the way they were.
Especially in that neighborhood. A lot of people really like that neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, dang.
Of course.
It's like, yeah, it's horse property. So,
Wow. I mean, I saw the horses come through there the day I was there. You know, I didn't see like the same feeling if you were like in, because that's not Shadow Hills, is it?
it's part of it is, she said that the property lines just shifted and now she's.
She's technically in, but it's not like the Shadow Hills that
That
Yeah,
you're
but-
thinking of, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, but she's solid though, to your point. I mean, the fact that even though it's not permitted second house, it's still, still all there.
Yeah,
And then Brenda actually shared that you could pull this right from command. So this is a great command question. We're doing command this Friday, command party, special guest speaker, Brenda, can't see her on screen. Putting Brenda on the spot, like, oh, really? You're really gonna have me like teach this? Like, yes, please. So for those of us who will be here on Friday, I'll ask the office, maybe we can do like pizzas after, like, what is that thing called? After caravan or something like that. Yeah, after the broker tour, and then meet here and have a breakdown on how this works. Josh will be on there, BA. So then again, this is stuff that we've seen now. It's just like, hey, how do we put this all into motion? And I'm gonna go back to this. Again, for me, this is the most boring part. I absolutely hate it, but the models and systems will lead to breakthroughs. But our natural talent will only take us so far. I mean, my ceiling for achievement is actually fairly low. So, yeah, I mean, you start seeing themes in your life, right? Like, oh, for 4 years in a row, only made 150 grand. Well, that's cool. You can do things with that.
Yeah.
But man, the moment I got systematized, we quadrupled that, right? You're damn close. And now we're like, oh, let's double down on that. Let's see where else we could go, right? And off we go. Got a comment here. Yeah, Nicole. Woo! There you go. Same here. Seller consultation preparation checklist. Deliver your pre-list packet. And remember, all this stuff here is really a model and system that you're creating for yourself, right? So deliver your pre-listing packet, confirm appointment, date, time, and location. Ensure all decision makers are present. Can't stress that enough. Complete and practice your listing presentation, review the lead sheet, arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner. The old adage, 15 minutes early, you're on time, you're late, right? Something that also helps, if you can, come in like 30 minutes earlier and drive by the homes that are on your CMA list, right? You're pulling within 2 blocks anyway, or within a mile. So it doesn't hurt to kind of round about some of those homes that are pending, that have closed, get a feel of the area, especially if you haven't sold in that area, which a lot of us, let's call it what it is. I don't have 20 years to know the lay of the land when it comes to Westchester down in LA, right? But I can be a data nerd. I can study the school system. I can go to Cindy and ask for like a printout or a PDF of all the things that are happening there. I can go to, why am I trying to blank right now? Is it RPR? RPR. No,
No, I know what you're
RPR.
talking about.
Yeah. I can go to RPR and then get all the background out on all the shops, schools, walking scores, all that stuff in the area. So, we can dive deep into that. Let's see here. Any ahas before we jump into the listing appointment on a fast blitz?
I think Breakthrough Broker has the same report as somewhere.
There you go. Yeah, so you use Breakthrough Broker or Total Farm or RPR, you're gonna get all that data on there for sure. The listing appointment itself,
I don't care, use Breakthrough.
I think that there's a free version and then there's like a premium / free version through Fidelity National Title or other title partners. Create a great impression to build the seller's confidence in you as a real estate agent choice. Share your price recommendation. Set expectations for how you will market the home and work with sellers. Let's see here, and then this is like the practice aspect of it. Also set expectations on when you are taking calls, when you're not taking calls. Like this is like a free tip, especially when you start getting like more and more business happening. Always let them know that, hey, I'm gonna update. I normally update my sellers every Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. And why Thursday afternoon? So you can hypothetically take Friday off. Right? So, but once under contract the idea is like set the expectation, like, hey, early on after the open house, you'll get a full update from us on Tuesday. Well, why not Monday? Because on Monday, people are still like rounding out their offers. We're still rounding up their feedback. People are writing their offers. So we're gonna do, like, we can have initial feedback if you just want like a quick heads up on who came through your ring bell or whatever. But Tuesday, we're gonna do a full update. right? And then that kind of saves the emotional pressure for me on Mondays, because Mondays my emails are like blown up. There's fires to put out, there's new leads that you want to follow up with. The last thing you want to do is like prepare an update for your client and eat an hour of your time. So I will strategically place that follow-up meeting and let them know, NLP, neurolinguistic programming, hey, our update should take no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Now, if it runs 15, cool, right? I don't tell them that part, but then they're expecting, great, this is just a quick synopsis, absolutely, right? And so those are some of the expectations. And I always let them know, like, hey, when it comes to selling your home, keep in mind, once we're under escrow, and I can remind them again later, is that most lenders are on the East Coast. Like the loan officers are here, but the investors are on the other side of the United States. So all of our updates on that end will usually be up and around 2 o'clock. And that's about the last time you can get an update from the buyer side. And keep in mind, escrow closes at 4:30 to 5 o'clock. So now you kind of have a built-in cushion time where, hey, anything that we can answer for you is going to happen between these 2 times. And that's it, right? And that sets the expectation for you to them that, hey, I'm going to update you before 5, if there's a dire update that needs to be made, or I'm going to gather all the facts and information, update you first thing in the morning. What did we just do there? We just freed ourselves of all of our listings from 5 o'clock till whenever we go to bed, or whenever we wake up in the morning and get back before our office routine, right? And for the love of God, do not answer your cell phones. You truly do have a cutoff time, or you're with your family, don't answer it, because now you set a precedence, and we're not going to go down that road. And I say that some people might cringe, but believe me, the last thing you want is to hate this business that can give so much to us.
9:30 at night, it's like,
Yeah, you set a precedence even for the buyer agent. Like, oh, this person really answered my call, awesome. Anyways, that's just me, because I've had so many fights with my wife about that. Your needs come first. I'm knowledgeable and caring. This is an affirmation. I am knowledgeable and caring, and I gotta move this thing so I can't see. Whoops. I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. Keep that in mind, right? Opportunities, update your opportunities list, listing walkthrough. So walking through the house, addressing some concerns. I tend to not only, the sellers are gonna call out all the beautiful things in their home. Go figure. Awesome, love that. I would say, hey, what about some of these patches here? Like, it's a little off color. Do you have someone who can come by and paint? Be the, at least for me, I'm always the opposite voice in that regard. Like, where can we see improvements, retrofitting, basic needs for that? Hey, when was the last time you updated your smoke detectors and all that fun stuff? Handwritten thank you note. I actually just have my VA send this, but you can sign up with send out cards or type service type media where you can type it, text it, and it gets physically mailed to the person, or like it says, handwritten note, thank you note. Any ahas? All right, we'll go right into the listing agreement. And this is the part where we break it down, but the listing agreement is pretty basic, and this is where Rich Cassani's class comes into play. And I will be doing a template page on a residential listing agreement. However, I'll do it as a separate class from this. But you can actually have it set up to where the only thing you're probably going to change on the appointment after copying and pasting APN number, address, putting in your client's name, all that stuff, truly might be price, commission, and terms. You might physically have to handwrite specific terms that you want in there. A very popular one would be you're taking a 6 or 7% commission. And then if you happen to represent the buyer and do a dual agency in that regard, maybe you reduce the commission to 4.5% or 4% or 5%, right? Or whatever that comes out to. So those are things that you can put on there. Anything else that we want to close on before we jump off and get on our phone calls? Awesome, guys. Anyone on Zoom land? Any ahas or anything anyone would like to share? Okay. Oh, Matt, you got?
Yeah, I'm just hoping I've gotten far in my career now through a lot of my natural ability. And after taking my disc assessment, I was hit in the face by possibly coming off superficial and using too many hand gestures and all sorts of stuff. And when I brought the disc assessment home, my fiance definitely nodded to everything, saying that's absolutely correct. Not that I am superficial or I could come off, but it was like a slap in the face. And that's what makes me nervous, because I want to do my best to make everyone comfortable, but also have the knowledge to back it up.
Oh, 100%, man. And something like this will help, because I'm very similar, right? The natural ability will only get us going, right? But the moment you start introducing like these models and systems, and you kind of plug and go, and don't forget your superpowers. If you're naturally good at connecting with people, like right off the bat with that type of mindset, keep that, right? You know, we can hire everything else out, or you can probably build a system or model around that. But that's great feedback. On Matt's note, before we head out, everyone has done their DISC profile assessment, right? Or their KPA.
Is there a link to that?
What was that, Heather?
I don't have the link to the DISC assessment that I've been hearing about. Is there a certain one we're supposed to utilize, or just any online?
On the onboarding process, they typically send one out.
Okay.
For sure, I know you definitely need one. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's really cool to
Yeah, because
figure
they
it out.
need a referral agent.
Oh, but I thought they still send the
I thought they did too, but
no, okay, I'll talk to the office about yours. For Heather, great question. I mean, it doesn't really, I mean, the office pays what it pays anyway every month for the assessment tool. I don't see the harm in you getting one. Just shoot me a text just to remind me to talk to Tammy about sending you one, or to Alejandra sending you one.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
we'll get that out there.
again.
Yeah. And DISC is really just the way to find out kind of your personality strengths, natural and under pressure. And you can leverage that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Friday, we'll pick it up. Or actually not, I think Friday they're canceling me in order for people to get back onto day one. But for sure, we will have a command party here at 1:30. So right after Caravan or the broker tour, 1:30, yeah. So as people are coming back from the broker tour, we'll be here and we'll crush it on command, and we'll have it live as well. I just don't think we're gonna record it, because I realized that I had like a ton of like client information on there. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna want it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But awesome, guys. Thank you all for popping in, watching, and take care.
Thank you.
See you guys later.